Yo, this is Afro, aka All Flows Reach Out, and you're listening to Built for This Network. Yes, sir. From the building, stay bomb.
Yo, this is Big Illinois 73. I want you to tune in to the Backyard Podcast Music Sessions, Friday nights, 10 p.m. Central Time, on the Built for This Network, on the Spreaker.com. Check us out. Hit the like button, subscribe. Peace.
So real. It is 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 real.
West, y'all. Bang, bang.
Throw them W's up. West Side Wednesdays with your boy, D Greatest from South Central. Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. X Squad Online Radio Network, iHeartRadio, Spotify, TuneIn, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, we got more.
Jarnell's going to let it fly. How about that young fella? Do your thing, young fella. But the Rock, where's he at? A lot of credit to these bench guys. Capella, yes. Stokes is getting out of here. Capella is 0 for 6. Jarnell creates space, and he's fouled and will go to the line.
This has been the Jarnell Stokes show. And he has...
Former NBA player and wellness advocate Jarnell Stokes is the owner of Stokes Superfoods. Stokes Superfoods brings the purest form and highest quality products to those who want to turn the tables and take responsibility for their health. Educate people on the power of returning to nature and the holistic inner self. Our products cannot heal any disease alone, but we're here to assist in the healing process for both the mind and body. Stokes Superfoods are highly recommended. For more information, please click on the link in my description box below. During the 80s crack era, jobs were ripped out of the black community in the blink of an eye. And they replaced those jobs with crack. If you strip away a man's resources, if you take away his ability to feed his family, and you give him drugs, what did you think was going to happen? You're going to use it or you're going to sell it? Even myself as a law-abiding citizen, if you take away my ability to feed my kids, I will commit crimes. If I can't legally feed my kids, I'm committing crimes because my kids will eat regardless, by any means necessary. In the early 80s, just as the drug war was kicking off, inner city communities were suffering from an economic collapse. The blue-collar factory jobs had suddenly disappeared. For black men, these were some of the go-to jobs. During the 50s, the 60s, and 70s, this is how black men ate. This is how they fed their families. Prior to 1970, inner city workers with relatively little or formal education could find work close to home. Manufacturing jobs were transferred by multinational corporations away from American cities to countries that lacked unions. So the jobs were gone, the income was depleted and it was chaos. And on top of that, they gave us crack. And the war on drugs began.
America, it will be government-wide, pulling together the 9 different fragmented areas within the government in which this problem is now being handled.
Studies show that people of all colors use and sell illegal drugs. If there are any differences, surveys are to be found that frequently suggest that whites, particularly the youth, are far more likely to engage in drug activities. There are more white users and more white drug dealers. In major drug-infested cities, nearly 80% of young black men have criminal records. When you look at the nation's prisons and jails, they are overflowing with black drug users and drug dealers. It may be surprising to some, but the drug crime was declining, not rising, when the drug war was declared. From a historical perspective, however, the lack of correlation between crime and punishment is nothing new. Sociologists have frequently observed that the government's use of punishment is primarily as a tool of social control. Most people assume that the war on drugs was launched in a response to the crisis caused by crack cocaine. This view holds that the racial disparities in drug convictions and sentences, as well as the rapid explosion of the prison population, reflect nothing more than the government's zealous but benign efforts to address the rampant drug crime in poor communities. I mean, this view is understandable, given the sensational media coverage of the crack cocaine in the 1980s and the 1990s, but it's simply wrong.
If we're going to have a successful offensive, we need more money. Consequently, I'm asking the Congress for $155 million in new funds, which will bring the total amount this year in the budget for drug abuse, both in enforcement and treatment, to over $350 million. As far as the new money is concerned, incidentally, I have made it clear to the leaders that if this is not enough, if more can be used, if Dr. Jaffe, after studying this problem, finds that we can use more, more will be provided.
While it is true that the publicity surrounding crack cocaine led to the dramatic increase in funding the war on drugs, but there is no truth to the notion that the war on drugs was launched in a response to crack cocaine. On October 14, 1982, President Ronald Reagan officially declared the war on drugs, doubling down on an initiative that was started by Richard Nixon. Reagan declared that illicit drugs were a direct threat to U.S. national security, and through a series of legislation, we had the outcome of mandatory minimum sentencing laws of 1986.
In 1986, when I was coming of age, Ronald Reagan doubled down on the war on drugs that had been started by Richard Nixon in 1971. Drugs were bad, fried your brain, and drug dealers were monsters. The sole reason neighborhoods and major cities were failing. No one wanted to talk about Reaganomics and the ending of social safety nets, the defunding of schools and the loss of jobs in cities across America. Young men like me who hustled became the sole villain, and drug addicts lacked moral fortitude. In the 1990s, incarceration rates in the U.S. blew up. Today, we imprison more people than any other country in the world. China, Russia, Iran, Cuba. All countries we consider autocratic and repressive. Yeah, more than them. Judges' hands were tied by tough on crime laws, and they were forced to hand out mandatory life sentences for simple possession and low-level drug sales. My home state of New York started this with Rockefeller laws. Then the feds made distinctions between people who sold powder cocaine and crack cocaine, even though they were the same drug. Only difference is how you take it. And even though white people used and sold crack more than black people, somehow it was black people who went to prison. The media ignored actual data to this day. Crack is still talked about as a black problem. The NYPD raided our Brooklyn neighborhoods while Manhattan bankers openly used coke with impunity. The war on drugs exploded the U.S. prison population disproportionately, locking away black and Latinos. Our prison population grew more than 900%. When the war on drugs began in 1971, our prison population was 200,000. Today it is over 2 million. Long after the crack era ended, we continued our war on drugs. There were more than 1.5 million drug arrests in 2014. More than 80% were for possession only. Almost half were for marijuana. People are finally talking about treating addiction to harder drugs as a health crisis. But there's no compassionate language about drug dealers. Unless, of course, we're talking about places like Colorado, whose state economy got a huge boost by the above-ground marijuana industry. A few states south in Louisiana, they're still handing out mandatory sentences for people who sell weed. Despite a booming and celebrated $50 billion legal marijuana industry, most states still disproportionately hand out mandatory sentences to black and Latinos with drug cases. If you're entrepreneurial and live in one of the many states that are passing legalized laws, you may still face barriers participating in the above-ground economy. Venture capitalists migrate to these states to open multi-billion-dollar operations, but former felons can't open a dispensary. Lots of times those felonies were drug charges, caught by poor people who sold drugs for a living, but are now prohibited from participating in one of the fastest-growing economies. Got it? In states like New York, where holding marijuana is no longer grounds for arrest, police issue possession citations in black and Latino neighborhoods at a far higher rate than other neighborhoods. Kids in Crown Heights are constantly stopped and ticketed for trees. Kids at dorms in Columbia, where rates of marijuana use are equal to or worse than those in the hood, are never targeted or ticketed. Rates of drug use are as high as they were when Nixon declared the so-called war in 1971. 45 years later, it's time to rethink our policies and laws. The war on drugs is an epic fail.
If you strip away a man's resources, if you take away his ability to feed his family, and you give him drugs, what did you think was going to happen? You're going to use it, or you're going to sell it? Even myself as a law-abiding citizen, if you take away my ability to feed my kids, I will commit crimes. If I can't legally feed my kids, I'm committing crimes. Because my kids will eat regardless. By any means necessary.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. It's your man H-Rap B coming at you live and direct. We are gathering on Built for This Network. This is the Enter the Bench podcast, Build and Destroy. I'd like to welcome you and thank you for joining the fun. It's been an interesting week. And always remember, I acknowledge my family before every episode. If you send out blessings and protection to your family, your ancestors will protect you anytime you're publicly speaking. This goes for my family members connected to the Whitmore family, Pollard family, Turner, Battle, Harper, Bailey, Chris Lansdowne, Liggins, Duncan, and of course me and my father, my mother, my sisters, my brothers, with the Williams family. Thank you for joining us. It's going to be interesting this week. Always understand that you're listening to a podcast. This is a live broadcast currently, So good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good night, depending upon where you are in the world. I want to make sure you understand what you're doing right now is a podcast. You can listen to me on YouTube live as well. Spreaker.com, finding Built for This Network, and listen to the rest of me and everybody else that is on Built for This Network. I also want you to understand that if you're forced to leave early, you can go to Spreaker.com, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Castbox, Deezer, and Podcast Addict, or wherever you download your podcast at currently. Again, I want to thank you for tuning in and continue to support the network. I made a mistake. So, as I stated, this was a very interesting week. A dude by the name, I read a few of his books. He goes by the name of Jacob Carruthers. He calls what happened this weekend intellectual warfare, right? And the reason he calls it intellectual warfare is because the days of hoses being turned on us, the days of dogs being sicked on us, that's over. But you're still under attack. And the community is still under attack. They won't go out, they won't call you the N-word directly. They present a front, they put up a front to make you believe, hey, we're here to help. We're doing the best we can do. We want you to do the best you can do. And you saw this week in the stock market. Anytime you're doing the best you can do, is somebody standing in the way. What I'm going to cover is what actually happened this week in the stock market. A lot of people have a lot more free time in their hands. A lot of people are paying attention to things. You listen to shows like this and other shows on mainstream white-facing media, and they'll tell you the things that are going on. And they'll tell you, hey, you watch TV and you see E-Trade commercials, you see Robinhood commercials, you see Fidelity commercials, you see all kinds of things to tell you, hey, you need to get into the stock market. This is where it is. This is what you want to do. And this is where you need to be if you're trying to be successful. And you hear it all the time. And the one time that people who get up and go to work and bust their ass for their money, the one time that they stood up and said, okay, let's do it, rich people shut it down. And again, it's insane that you see that rich people definitely shut this thing down. I'm going to go over that, and I'm going to cover a lot more, because what really happened Tuesday is a violation of your constitutional rights. I'm going to talk about hedge funds. I'm going to talk about COINTELPRO that's against you. And then you could actually reverse it and put it against the people who are attempting to stop you from being successful. I'm going to tell you how to do these things. I'm going to tell you why you should do these things. And first and foremost, I want to thank everybody in both chat rooms on Spreaker.com as well as YouTube. If you hit the like button and share on your social media, please do as such. It's greatly appreciated. But what I want to do is I want to talk about something that is insanely ironic. The stock market went bananas this weekend. And most people don't know what the hell is going on. They just say, hey, AMC, the theaters, and the big names were, GameStop. Those are only two of the businesses on the stock index that went crazy this week. What you really saw, for lack of a better term, you saw the skirt get pulled up, the curtain get pulled back, and you saw that the Wizard of Oz is not a real thing. He's just a guy with bells and whistles and tricking everybody. Look, can you get rich in the stock market? I've made a lot of money in the stock market. I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't made millions of dollars. If I did, it would be a different situation. But I'm telling you now, I have made a lot of money doing what they did the other day. I've never got into anything that was so big that I could make $200,000 or $300,000 in a day, or even $1 million in a day. I've never done that, but I've made a decent amount of money, and I have been able to provide for me and my children, and a couple good times for me and my partners. Right? Never got into anything of that nature. What I'm going to do this evening is explain to you what happened. There's a group of people that get together, investment clubs, that they're called hedge funds. And when you're in the midst of a hedge fund, Hedge funds are traditionally a group of people. It's an investment club. It's a group of people that get together. They have potentially tens of millions of dollars. Some of them have hundreds of millions of dollars, and some of them are billionaires. And if you watch movies like Trading Places, if you watch movies like Wall Street, they were showing you what was going on Tuesday. You just didn't know it. So this is what a hedge fund does. A hedge fund looks at a fledgling company that's teetering, and all it needs is a little push, and it falls over the edge in a lot of cases. And the hedge fund will invest in that company and do things that they shouldn't be doing. The company folds. They take all the assets, sell all the assets, make money, don't have to pay the bank back, and the bank seizes the assets, them and the bank splits it up, and that company is no longer there. If you watch the movie Wall Street, you'll see that's exactly why Gordon Gekko and Charlie Sheen got Gordon Gekko locked up, because he was trying to bankrupt that airport. So while everybody's going crazy and saying, hey, well, the media, the white-facing media is going crazy saying, hey, these people, these poor people, or they call it what they call them is retail investors. These retail investors shook up the industry and they did something wrong. What they did was go on this platform like a Twitter, like a Facebook, like Instagram, create a group text. They went into that thing. What's the new thing? Backyard clubhouse. It was like a clubhouse kind of thing. And they went in there and they said, we're going to follow this hedge fund. And mind you, following a hedge fund is legal. There are websites that you can go, it's public record, that you can go and find out where a hedge fund is investing their money right now. You can find out what they're going to do Monday. So they follow the hedge fund. 10, 20, 50,000 people followed the hedge fund. And when they waiting on the hedge fund to make a move, they follow the hedge fund. You can either just jump in and get paid, or you can jump in and trick the system and win. What they did is called a short squeeze. A short squeeze is when a hedge fund borrows money, and that's pretty much the banks, the Chases, the Wells Fargo, and all those big-time chemical bank. Any big-time bank you know in America, this is what they do. They lend hedge funds money, and the hedge fund squeezes a company out of business. And in the midst of it, if they don't make, like they invest in the stock, it goes up. The suckers come in and they drive the price down. And what they do is get out, the company folds. As I stated a second ago, they have to sell the assets. Everybody makes, the hedge fund and the banks make money. And the people on the sideline lose their jobs, lose equity in their business. They have to close their doors. So what? It's called, what they used to call it was a takeover. But it's no longer called a takeover. It's a squeeze. It's a short squeeze. So they saw the short squeeze coming because look, the stock market should, the way they tell you it's designed, it should make money when you go into the stock market. Me, the end of the bench is my brand. Built for this network, I got partners, but the end of the bench is mine. I start blowing up. I need to get better cameras. I need to get a new office. I need to buy a studio. So I go public. I put 48% of my company public so I can always maintain the controlling interest of my company. You guys come and buy my stock. That gives me the cash flow to do what I want to do, right? So when you're doing a short squeeze, the people who have the big money, they never use their money. They squeeze you out. So working class people got together and they said, hey, here's the thing with the short squeeze, it's about to go down. And remember, keep this in mind. The people who are in control of the short squeeze only make money if the stock goes down. If you ever watch Trading Places, the very end, Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd got control. They got the real crop report. The two rich guys, the Duke boys, they had a fake one. They bought everything because they knew you would have to come to me to get oranges. Now, a hedge fund says we're going to drive this business into the ground. We're going to sell off the assets and win, right? But what these people on Reddit did was y'all invested in this company attempting to bankrupt it. We're going to bankrupt you. And when they bankrupt that company, what happened was when they did it, started off at $4 like 3 months ago, went up to $35, $40. The suckers are starting to pay attention because they're paying attention to this hedge fund. The hedge fund takes out their money. Since GameStop and AMC, nobody's going to the theater due to the pandemic. Nobody's going to GameStop because of Amazon. So why do I need any one of those? The stock turns into trash, goes right to the bottom. The hedge fund says, see, bank, we ain't got to pay you, but we're going to split the profits. And when you split the profits, the rich people get richer and the poor people get poor. Well, what poor people, working class people did was they invested heavily. They went in and took the stock from $4 to $400. You had people become millionaires in one day. One day. Off a very small investment, you're a millionaire in one day. And now, the people who run Robinhood are telling people that the poor people screwed the rich people. You had headlines, rich people, the poor people are stealing from the rich. How ironic is that? The story of Robinhood is taken from the rich, given to the poor. The people at Robinhood said, hey, you working class guy, you too can participate in the stock market. And you can get rich like us. And they did it and they got mad. These billionaires, just understand this. They're mad because it was people just like me and you who went to work Monday morning, got home from work Monday night, and those billionaires were sitting up going, yeah, it's on. And people like me and you got together and went in one direction, and it's a bunch of millionaires out there right now today that you have more money in your bank account, even if you're living check to check. You got more money than them because what happened is now they have to pay the difference in that $4 and that $400, which accumulate, which is the sum total of about $100 billion. And not many people on earth have $100 billion in their pocket. So if you don't have $100 billion in their pocket, you're going to have to sell off a lot of your assets or all your assets. You know, it was a fictitious thing with the Dukes, but that's what happened. A bunch of Eddie Murphys and Dan Aykroyds put the Dukes in the poorhouse. This is an example of why people like Marcus Garvey, people like Malcolm X, people like Martin King, people like Adam Clayton Powell, people like Whitney Young have been begging you to work together. You saw it in Georgia. You saw it in Georgia a month ago. Well, at the beginning of this month, you saw it. You saw when people got together, people who get up off their ass to go to work every day. When they get together and say, enough of this, we're not dealing with that nonsense anymore. People start being unemployed. And now you see it in the stock market. A bunch of people who get up and go to work every day, a bunch of people who don't have a whole lot of money got together, moved in one direction, and what happened? Those people bankrupt billionaires. And now these same billionaires who didn't want to give you, like, for example, the lady, Reverend Warnock, took over her slot in the state of Georgia. She was doing this and got rich and did not go to jail, did not receive any sanctions, and she's a member of the United States federal government because she knew the pandemic was coming. She sold off a lot of her stock and she got paid. See, the stock market is a tricky thing. They traditionally tell you how you get rich in the stock market is you buy low and wait for the company to blow. It's another way you can get paid in the stock market. When you know something is about to go to hell and it's worth $75 and you know it's about to be worth about $8 within the next week, you can sell off all of it, right? Give you a perfect example. I made the greatest gain in 2008. AIG, the company that is the insurance company for all your senators, your president, your vice president, and if I'm not mistaken, all your governors. And it's probably other people as well, but I'm sure about those people, right? AIG at one point was selling at $400 around 2007, 2008, prior to November when George W. Bush bankrupted the country. Bam, you went to hell, right? And one day, it went from $400 a share, and a share is a piece of a company. $400 a share to 39 cents a share. I jumped in at 39 cents because I understood that A lot of that money went to hell because a lot of people foreclosing on their homes. They invested in their homeowners boom, and they lost tremendously. A lot of these Fidelity, a lot of these companies lost like that. I knew it was going to come back. Ford went to hell too. Ford went down to 75 cents a share from $12.75. See, Ford is one of the leaders in auto. AIG is one of the leaders in investment and insurance. So I knew they were the terminology that came about was too big to fail. I knew they were too big to fail. I invested in Las Vegas Sands too, because no matter how tough things get, people are going to take their ass out there to Vegas to have a good time, right? Blow off some steam. I'm gonna get high because weed is legal out there. I'm gonna get drunk for free. I'm gonna chase these women and what stays in Vegas, or these men, whatever your choice is, and I'm gonna have me a good time. If you don't believe me, my personal son just came back from Vegas 2 weeks ago, and the whole damn world is sick. And it's not a knock against my son. People want to have a good time, so I knew Vegas would bounce back too. 6 months later, AIG was went from 39 cents to $39. So that's one way you get paid. The slick way, the rich guy way, is to know it's about to go to hell, so you sell it and you make money where it's at the top. And then it goes to hell, and you made $4 million by selling your shares. And now it's down on the low, and you know it's going to bounce back. You buy everything back, and when it comes back, you double your money. You probably quadruple or quintuple your money on the way back up. And they have been doing this since the 20s, when the Great Depression started and everybody went broke, and these crackers was jumping out the window and killing themselves because they lost everything, right? That's what they don't want you to know, that they are making money on the front end and the back end of every situation. And now that people who get up and go to work and people who are their subordinates are doing the same thing that they're doing, everybody's claiming foul. Oh, this is wrong. How did they do this? How did you let them do this? And just like anything else, again, when you listen to the people who really have your mind or have your best interest in mind, they've been telling you things like, if your neighborhood is violent and you want people to change the gun laws, everybody that look like me, go get a gun. Go get a legal gun. Don't sneak and get a gun. Don't, I don't know. Don't do that. Everybody who's listening, tell 10 people who should be listening, go get a gun card. I guarantee you there'll be more stringent gun laws in your situation. It's just the way the world works. When you doing it, it's cool. When they doing it, it's cool. When you don't, we're going to figure it out. These billionaires are asking for a bailout. The same people who are standing around told you January 1st. I'm not even talking about a whole month ago. At the top of the year. Tomorrow's the last day of the month. The same people that told you you don't need any more stimulus money. You need to just pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You remember that nonsense? Now they need money. And this is when you need to keep a side eye on Joe Biden and Vice President Harris and all those people you put in office in November, because if they sign off for these clowns to get this money, you need to make sure that they don't get any more of your money as well, because that would be pure madness. They played the game, they lost the game, they cheated, they lost, and now they mad. No, it don't work like that, because we've been losing for centuries. So welcome to the club, man. Welcome to the bottom. That's all we gonna say. Welcome to the bottom. And see, that's when then it'll be fair, because guess what? Most people who get up and go to work every day, you know how it feels to not have anything. You know exactly how it feels to not have anything. Now, you're gonna have to raise somebody. You laying on your back, and they're laying on their back. The difference is they're laying on their back like turtles because they don't know what it is. You know to roll over and stand up. And that's the deal. That's the honest to God deal, folks. It's people running around here who are going to be broker than you ever. That's why 100 years ago, folks was jumping out of windows, because they lost it all. They lost it all. You, on the other hand, don't have hundreds of billions of dollars. You, on the other hand, have not been eating from a silver spoon. So here's your chance to win. And this is why you had things like that. This is why they put those dumbass people up, those dumbass working class people up to that insurrection a couple of weeks ago. Because, as the president said in 1966, if you can convince a poor white person that they're better than the poor black person, you don't even have to rob them. They'll give you your money. And that's why they're doing things like, oh, save us, Donald Trump. Save us, the guy who's never done anything for anybody but himself. That's oxymoronic in itself. Save us to the guy who lies, cheats, and steals. Save us to a guy who's filed bankruptcy several times. And this is where we are in America today. And this is where you sit as a working class citizen who's busting your behind, and you have the opportunity to get rich. And the sad part is this. They want to say that the people who were on Robinhood did something wrong. How could they do something wrong? What they did was go to Reddit, congregate, commiserate, come up with a plan to beat the man. That's all they did. That's all they did. And now it's a problem. But I see it as an entry point, a point of entry for our community. Because poor people have been struggling. Well, you know, some people are offended by that term, poor people. But if you get up and go to work every day, you might be poor. The working poor. But poor people have been trying to get in on this for decades. Oh, you need a broker. You need $10,000. You need $20,000. You let me in the door at $5, $10, $3. And I tricked and I won. See, it was easy. See, the concept is, as I'll let you get $20 as long as I have 100. But if you got 5 people to put in 100 against somebody with 100, and then y'all get $5,000, he'll never be able to beat you. And this is what I'm saying. The only issue I have with those people who did that is y'all did it on the public platform. You can do it. Me personally, I sold everything out of Robinhood and I went back over to E-Trade. I got money on both platforms. You can do it though. You and 10 people could talk to 10 more people and y'all can get together and create the exact same phenomenon. Again, these hedge funds is public record. You better hurry up and do it because it will be some regulations initiated within the next 6 months. So this won't keep happening. Because all of a sudden, you can't trade this. You can't trade AMC. You can't trade that. I was in on a deal on Naked. It's an underwear company. They were going to do the exact same thing. And they stopped Naked that day. And it cost me $75. Well, $25 initially. Then my total loss was $75, right? But if you know what you're doing or you're speaking to enough people, what's going to happen is this. People can't control what you talk about. And the people, the SEC, is going to try, hey, when you're talking to these people, they're going to come up with another term like insider trading, but none of us are inside. You could potentially use public record to get people and get rich. But see, this is why you listen to me every week and you hear me say, hey, man, people don't want to do this. You know, people need to get together. The people in charge don't want you winning. And it's always somebody hit me later. Well, you can't speak in such broad and ambiguous terms because that doesn't cover everybody. Now we can get into semantics and and then I'll say, oh man, I don't mean everybody, but it's enough people against you to understand. We can live the way you can major in the minors, or you can be a chew up the meat, spit out the bones kind of guy. Chew up the meat of the conversation. Digest what you need. Everything that you don't need, spit it out. No one listening to this or whoever will listen to this has to agree with me. But what you can do is look into it and realize there was some validity to what he said. And what I'm going to do is apply what he said that I liked and the things that I didn't. Screw Buddy. And I'm going to listen next week. And he might have some more stuff for me. And I'm just going to listen that way because my man is crazy. That's the way you can look at this entire situation. Or you can debate with me, which I'm not going to do. Or you can debate with me in your head, see, he should have said this, and he should have said that. And while you saying that, and while you doing that, the boat is taking off, and you looking at it, slide, ease on down the road. And that's just the bottom line. The biggest mistake that they made, back to the original point, the biggest mistake they made was to be public with their conversation. Now, understand you're being watched at all times. And I'm not into that boogeyman conspiracy theories. The white man is out to get me and all that. I'm not doing that. But what I am doing is, I know a person, gonna remain nameless. She's an attorney. She flew down to Carolina, drove over to Tennessee, came back to Carolina, flew back to New York. And when she got on the plane, The National Guard was there to check where she had been because they were using license plates, detectors, and truck stops and things like that to detect where she was going because they told her it was for contact tracing with the COVID virus. So there is no true secrets anymore. But what you can do, if enough of you guys to get together, and I told y'all this about a year ago, enough of you get together and have the same mission, and if you have one point person, you can do what you want to do. You can do what you want to do. Like, oh man, I don't know about all that, and that seems kind of fishy, and it doesn't have to be realistic to you. But all you have to do is really start watching the white-facing media and start watching things like C-SPAN. C-SPAN's still on the same situation to which they're trying to disseminate information. They're trying to get you news, and they're not trying to get ratings and profit. They're not trying to get a Popeyes commercial. They're not trying to get movie trailers played in the midst of their news program. So, because they are publicly funded like news used to be 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago. Walter Cronkite and those guys, Ted Koppel, Rather, and those guys, they're doing it that way. So they're giving you genuine news. So, again, if you really want to get on top of this, stop being on social media platforms talking about what you're doing. The number one reason I would tell you to do that is this. Because you're being watched. And it's a term, I'm big on Twitter. And it's a term that they use on Twitter. It's kind of like catfish, but it's not. It's kind of like catfish, but it's not. We call it blackfish. And it's when a white person puts up a black picture and start talking about things because we've put our business out there and we've put our vernacular out there, and like every other thing in the history of the company, yeah, they've mimicked, they watched it, they mimic it, and then when they use black talking points, you won't go as hard on them as you would someone else, because what you do is assume that that's a black person on the other end, so you cut them some slack. But that's what white facing is. That's what blackfishing is. And if we stop talking, see, you got people you on here and you're using terminology, you're using the vernacular, you're using Ebonics, and you're showing them how you move so they mimic it. And then what they do is use algorithms and things of that nature to attack you and aim things towards you. The easiest thing to do is to get two people arguing about things that don't count. The biggest talking point, one of the biggest talking points in America today in our community is black on black crime. The reason that always cuts a nerve with me is because black on black crime at the end of the day is not a real thing. Because most people who are listening to me and most people that live in the United States of America who are from our community don't know the statistics on white crime. Oh, see, but we can't worry about them. We got to worry about us. You can't live like that, because in order to say something is bad, you have to have something opposed to it. If I'm the only person that ever cooked you a meal, then I'm a great cook. But then you go to Emerald Ghazi, or you go to somebody's grandmother's house, and then you find out H-Rap sucks in the kitchen. So you need to juxtapose everything you do to something. Me and the homies was talking about this recently. If you're going to say black on black crime is out of control, what are you comparing it to? The 91% of people from 91% of black people who hurt other black people. Never paying attention to the actual fact that you were forced into certain neighborhoods. You were forced into doing things in certain neighborhoods that you couldn't do otherwise, right? I can't move into this neighborhood. There's still, if you read the fine print of your housing contract or contract that you bought your house with, there's still certain neighborhoods in the United States of America that is in your loan application or bill of sale. That's the word I was looking for. That you are not supposed to legally be able to live there, and it's in the contract and you signed it, and nobody pays attention to it. So if that municipality chose to, they can kick you out. You see what I'm saying? So if I can't live here, and only people I grew up on Cedric Street and I was born on Hastings Street. If I can only live on Cedric Street and I can only live on Hastings, the chances of me going down to 79th Street and getting into an argument with somebody, bad analogy, but you get what I'm saying, get bad choice of streets, go to Oak Park and get into a fight with somebody, I slim and none because I'm not allowed to be over there. Again, who are killing the Latino brothers? Who are killing the Asian brothers? If the Mexican, Asian, and Russian mafia are the three largest criminal organizations in the world and they're fighting against each other, why don't you ever see those people on TV? Well, these people from MS-13 got into it with these people. Why don't you ever see that story on the news? Why don't you ever see the Russian mafia fighting those other dudes? Because it has to be, I don't care what you're doing, it's somebody to juxtapose what you're doing. You always see you on TV. That's because they want you to believe that you're less than. And that's just the bottom line. People want you to believe you're less than, like you're flawed, because here's the numbers. 91% of black people hurt other black people, rob other black people, do nefarious activity against other black people. But 89% and then 87%. And the Asian community is traditionally so closed in, they have to be at about 99%, but nobody looks that up to oppose it to anything else. And if you start comparing yourself, you'll realize violence is part of the human condition. If you're a spiritual person, open up your Bible. Read the first chapter. It's a dude killed his brother. First chapter. First chapter. So violence is inherently human. And if it's inherently human, you don't have a patent on it, but you continue to believe this because then you're looking at your brother, you're looking at your sister, and then what they show us on TV, they show us love and hip hop. And you tell yourself, oh man, I just like it, da-da-da-da-da. And then you subconsciously developing biases against women, you subconsciously the biases against men, and the rest of the world is being projected. This is what we look like, and a lot of us buy into it. So if you stop allowing people to understand who and what you are and how you behave, they cannot create a program in which they can destroy you, which they've done it with Dr. King, the great Dr. King, Jesus and the Messiah, the new Fred Hampton movie. They've done it against Malcolm X. But what you can do is fight the counterintelligence situation, which is this. You can join the FBI. It's not even a hard job to get. You get a bachelor's degree in something outside of criminal justice because they don't like people from the criminal justice background because they've been programmed. You get your bachelor's in not criminal justice, liberal arts. You get a bachelor's in political science. You get your bachelor's in finance or something of that nature so you can track all this money. And now you're on the inside reporting to your friends and family what's going on and keeping them abreast. Our people who were in bondage did it all the time. How do you think people like people who were in bondage let the people outside the plantation, how do you think word of mouth got about? Because Thomas Jefferson and the rest of those slave owners that created the company used to talk about what's going on in front of their indentured people who were forced into indentured servitude, and they would tell their friends, and it would spread and spread and spread. Now it's time for you to start doing the same thing. I'm sick of the cops beating us up. We're going to need some brothers and sisters to become cops. You saw with this insurrection. You had doctors, you had lawyers, you had your teachers, you had everybody who you thought was cool. If you had the opportunity to use facial recognition programming, you see all the people who take care of you in that situation. And again, I cannot stress this enough, that thing didn't just happen in D.C. It happened up in Wisconsin, right north of me. It happened in the state of Michigan. It happened in the state of Michigan. It happened in New Mexico. It happened in Sacramento, California. It happened in Oregon. And see, because you don't get that on white-facing media, because they don't want you to realize that this was a calculated attack and it was a measuring stick. What would they do if we did this? And they sent off a bunch of poor people, and they sent off a bunch of people who believe in this nonsense. And if you believe that, understand, if you believe that 74 million people who support Donald Trump are going to give up right now, or more people supported Joe Biden, 6 million people in the midst of 300 million people is not a lot of people. 6 million people in the midst of 300 million people is not a lot of money. Not a lot of people. So half the people in the country are against you, and half the people claim to be with you until they get what they want, and then they're going to be straddling the fence as usual. But think about it. More people voted this time than at any time in the history of the United States of America, and just about half of them said, screw you. It's time for you to step up and do what you're supposed to do and be a collective versus light skin, dark skin in Chicago, South Side, West Side, rich, poor, ugly, cute, long hair, skinny, fat. Look, you could be this as a united community and understand there's one mission, and the mission is to make sure your children live in a safe place, your businesses strive, you have the ability to create your own business and finance, and be as prosperous as you can be, or you can splinter and sit around and go, hey man, I'm doing my own thing, and then when one of these bad things happen to you, then you're going to be begging for people to come and rally. How about this? Rally before the damn storm, and then you won't have to worry about the storm. Build a roof over your head, and then look, once the roof is there, and you get comfortable, and you put yourself in a situation that you can win, and then we can sit around the pool, or sit in your backyard, your big luxurious backyard, and have a cookout and debate which God is real and things of that nature. How about that? Because at the end of the day, all of that stuff don't mean a damn thing if cops are killing your kids, if people are hurting you and your family, your wives, your sisters, your aunts, your grandparents. If they can't walk the streets safely, what good does it do to know that I'm right when your cousin is being shot dead in the street because he didn't want to listen to you? Or you didn't know what you were talking about, Brian. See, you know everything. And okay, now that you've proven Brian wrong, then what? Nothing happens. Now you just know Brian is wrong. That's it, that's all. Brian is wrong, and my nephew's bleeding up at the county hospital because some cop gunned them down. Instead of taking everything you can do, doing what you have to do, and being as successful as you can be, and stop splintering the community and put the community in a situation to thrive. Stop saying, see, he needs to, and ask yourself, exactly what are you doing to help this situation? That's the easiest way to go about this. Exactly what are you doing to help this situation? And it doesn't have to, I'm not asking you to be Fred Hampton. I'm not asking you to be Martin King. I'm not asking you to be the late great ancestor John Lewis. What I'm asking you to do is talk to your friends and family. Ask the ladies in your community, are you safe walking down the street? You and some of the brothers understand when these sisters out here with these kids, when they walking down the street in the hood, hey, at 5 o'clock, Sister Johnson is going to be out here. Me and the man across the street, we're going to watch Sister Johnson and the kids get in the house. That's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. It's little things like that that make it easier for you and your community to be successful. But everybody looking for Dr. King. Hey, bruh, ain't no more Dr. King. Dr. King was a great man. He's not coming back. Malcolm X is not coming back. Ali is not coming back. None of those guys are coming back. It's none of that, okay? Now, Jesus, whoever you look up to, they're not coming back. But it is time for the collective part of the collective to get together and move things in one direction. Because, look, they're unveiling it to you. Every week, you see another chink of the armor, piece of the armor fall off. You got these hillbillies running into the Capitol talking about handcuffing and killing people on live TV. You got these white boys out in California followed this sister, chased her down the alley and shot in her head, and they said, hey, we were teaching her a lesson. I don't know a lot of brothers that committing suicide and hanging themselves in public places, but they've convinced you guys that these two black men out of LA put themselves and hung themselves from a tree, and don't nobody talk about that. Man, salute to the ancestors that have transitioned, the Trayvon Martins, the Sandra Blands, the Eric Gardners, and those people. But those brothers were hung as well. But they don't tell you. All of a sudden, there's something else on the TV. We got to focus on that. We can't be focused on this other stuff. Or it's that TV that you paying attention to. You ain't read a book since Head Start, since Ned the First Reader. See Ned run, Ned run. But you want to believe this nonsense on TV. Come on now, you got to be better than that. And y'all know I'm an open book, man. I tell y'all, I was that guy. I used to treat books like they were kryptonite, man. I wasn't doing that. And that's why I can speak from a position of, hey man, I've been there. It's not the move. It's not the move. it is not the move. It's not hard to get together, man. And hey, what you can do is, like right now, your former president is starting the Patriot Party. Understand what was happening with this whole Donald Trump debacle. Donald Trump had no intentions. Him and Steve Bannon wanted to create a media outlet. They wanted to create enough stir so they could create a media outlet that was going to rival Fox, and everything Fox said that they didn't agree with, they would shut up, get rid of Fox, and then the other ones they already did that with. That was the original move, and he messed around and won, because what he did was he told the people with those pointy hoods, those pointy white hoods, it's cool. Don't worry about it. I got you. Don't worry about it, man. I got you. It's cool to say this hate stuff now. And now they're doing it. Look, if you don't believe me, reach out to a physician that is of color who works in the community. They'll tell you. It was a study in the Wall Street Journal 6 months ago. Black people live longer when they have black physicians. Black students learn more when they have black teachers. This is a well-known fact to everybody but black people, because we're going, we figure out we have one bad encounter, and we label everybody. But you know what? You want to look at the TV and say the TV is against you, but then when they say something bad about somebody, you go, everybody but me. And that's exactly what they're banking on. They want you to say, everybody but me, everybody but H-Rap. See, because the rest of y'all ain't nothing. That's what they tell you. Every single time, and we continue to fall for it. It's insane. It is truly, truly insane, man. It's truly insane. Again, Sister Karen Hunter. Y'all hear me reference Sister Karen Hunter on 126 on Sirius XM. She's on fire. Joe Madison on fire. Lori Favors on fire. Afro State of Mind. I can't think of her name right now. She's on fire. Clay Caney on fire. All they do is to present you with information. And if you choose to use it or not, I use a lot of it. The stuff that you think I'm smart for saying, I get it from them a lot of the time. A lot of the times, I get it right out of their mouths. I reword it and give it to you. No kick. But at the same time, we need to get this information. One of the things Sister Karen Hunter started 6 years ago was the Party of Lincoln. The reason she used the Party of Lincoln because Lincoln is famous for a lie. The freeing the slaves lie. No. I'll say this again. Every time I bring that up, I'll say it. Lincoln didn't free the people who were enslaved. The enslaved people freed themselves because they were losing that war until they gave the brothers and sisters guns. Sister Harriet Tubman was leader of a regiment. There was a lot of brothers who couldn't get guns. 8 months after they got those guns, the war was over and it was won. They were getting their asses kicked. They were getting their asses handed to them. The brothers said, give us the gun. We'll win it for you. They did. Now, with that being said, she said the Party of Lincoln because the indoctrination process that's called education was presented to you, and it was told to you that Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves. So she said the Party of Lincoln. Also, the Party of Lincoln is the Republican Party. Her theory is we should all start joining and name alone the Republican Party. You go in there, you find out what they're doing, and we, between both parties, find somebody that's right in the middle that's going to support us. And when they support us, we'll get what we need. See, again, another thing. Black people don't vote. Black people only make up. Another sidebar. They keep telling you that we're killing ourselves at an alarming rate, right? This back on the black crime thing. We're killing ourselves at an alarming rate. Yet, in the year 2000, we made up 13% of the population at about 32 million people. Here we are 20 years later, killing ourselves at a more alarming rate. Well, we're 44 to 50 million people, and we make up 17 to 14% of the population. We're killing each other so bad that we're multiplying. Back to the Party of Lincoln. The Party of Lincoln thing is, so if you're going to participate in this system, you need to start finding people who align themselves with you. That R and that D means nothing. That R and that D means nothing. Because look, Raphael Cruz, you know him as Ted Cruz. His name is not Ted, his name is Raphael. He's a Latino, half Canadian guy. So he out there doing things against his own folks. But that's neither here nor there. He came from a situation called the Tea Party. The Tea Party said, this is what we're going to do. And they aligned themselves with the Republican Party. And now they get what they want. It's a group of people, I can't think of their name right off the top of my head, that has aligned themselves they even line themselves in the Republican Party also. These people think they're lizard people walking around, and they think it's a gigantic, that Joe Biden is part of the lizard people, and they're running a gigantic child pornography ring. And they have people in Congress right now. So just imagine clear thinking folks of African descent, people who look like me and you, if we got together and said, well, you know what? We need our schools fixed in every major city in the north. We need more money pumped into the south, because that's where the majority of the people that live in this country that look like me and you, they live in the south. The poorest people that look like me and you traditionally live in New York, Chicago, Cleveland, Detroit, and things of that nature. Because land equals money. People in the South have land. They have some mortgage situation against. So, if we got together and got the government to because you do understand your state representative, it's his job to put money into your community. That's his job. Find people who I can give money to so they can open businesses in my community to increase the tax base. You increase the tax base, you increase the finances in the state, everybody should be happy. That's the plan. But we keep saying, give me a job. Create you a job, a corner store, a daycare center, a learning institution. So when your kids out here in these streets and they ain't got nothing else to do, they could go learn some things, right? But that's why you need to remove yourself from the Democratic Party, remove yourself from the Republican Party, and join Karen Hunter's Party of Lincoln. It's an app. It has all the app has the Constitution in it. It has all the rules in your state in it. You can register to vote in this app. There's a whole lot of quality information that you can use to become the best possible person in your community and enhance your community. Again, stop looking to Al Sharpton. Stop looking to Reverend Jackson. Stop looking to all these people and start understanding people like my man DJ Mad Knox. He lives in New Jersey. He needs to be in the app and getting in contact with Cory Booker and saying, Cory Booker, this is what you need to do. My man Rocker, he down there in Georgia. He needs to be sweating Warnock, because Warnock only got 2 years. He's finishing out a term. So Warnock needs to be on Warnock's ass via the Party of Lincoln. It's an app, it's free. My man The Greatest, he needs to be on Maxine Waters' heels. He out there in LA, that's where she's at. He needs to be on her heels. I'm not saying any of these people aren't doing that job, but that's what you do instead of waiting on, hey, see, this is what we need to do. I'm giving you the game plan. And now all you have to do is look around your community and figure out what is there and what isn't there. And the people here in Chicago, you need to be doing the same thing. Point blank, period. That's it, man. This is checkers, not chess. You don't have to be the smartest person. You don't have to be some magnificent immobilizer or organizer. All you need to do is have a phone that's in your hand and start sweating people, because they did not get put in a position so they can sit on their hands. You need to get everybody on Instagram, everybody on Facebook, everybody on Twitter, saw all these people sliding in the DM for non-important reasons. Start sliding information to them. Go to the site that you can create a petition and get people to slap. You put that petition up on your Facebook page and have all your Facebook friends that are in your community. This is what we need. Enough of sitting around waiting on these people to do what they have to do. The most important thing in anything I'm going to say today is this. How do you see yourself and how do people see you? The second thing, the thing that I don't give a damn about is how people see you. And the reason being, you can let people see you how they want to see you, because you're not going to change it. But how they see you will show you how they approach you. So if they see you as the love and hip hop guy, or the rapper with his ass out, or the girl doing the Bust It challenge, that's how they will approach you. The important thing is how you see yourself. And how you see yourself will determine what you do throughout the world. Because if you see yourself as an employee, or you see yourself as a person who needs to wait on somebody to help them, you'll be waiting for the rest of the time the earth is spinning. If you see yourself as an important enough person to take care of your grandchildren, your significant other, your aunts, your uncles, the seniors in your family, then you get up off your ass and do what you have to do. Period. It's not difficult. It's not about how they see you. It's how you see you. And if you're tired of being afraid, if you're tired of walking down the street and looking like, hey man, I don't know what's going to go on, or like in my neighborhood, they just shot at the damn grocery store. If we sick of that, what we need to do is get on the phone with Lightfoot and say, hey, I'm going to need you to take those cops from them damn statues down at Grant Park and get them to be rolling around in our neighborhoods so these young people can relax. And then you start talking to your representative and say, hey, you need to get your ass off, get up off your ass and create some after school programs that enhances art, that enhances science, that enhances computer science, and give my kids something to do. Period. But if you're sitting around complaining laterally, if I complain to Big Illinois, it means nothing. It means absolutely nothing if I complain to my man Joe from Houston. It means absolutely nothing because Joe and Big Illinois can't do a damn thing. But if you want to keep complaining to those guys, you keep doing it, and then you let me know how it works. Because then that's why you got those guys who stand around and say, hey man, this is never going to work. And all you have to do is say, now what empirical data do you have to support that? Because it's never worked. Also, what you're telling me is, you as an individual have organized thousands of people, moved them towards the city council, moved them towards the mayor's office, and the mayor said, hey man, it sucks to be you. Oh no, but they ain't never done nothing for it because you never asked me. Hey, that may sound like a broken record, but it is what it is. And one of the things that annoyed me to no end this week is this $20 thing. You see, people don't understand how insulting that $20 thing is. Putting Harriet Tubman on a $20 bill, everybody was like, hey man, that's good. The sister did a lot for this country. She should be celebrated by putting on a $20 bill. Whether you realize it or not, that damn money is a slave trading card. Slave owner's trading card. Everybody on that paper owns somebody that look like you. And you want, here's the more egregious situation. This is why it's pandering. Pandering is when you talk to people like they're beneath and you offer them concessions. You know, this is why it's pandering. And this is why it's ultimately insulting. You want to put a woman who escaped enslavement, cotton picking, and things of that nature, and helped other people escape those same perils, and you want to put her on a piece of cotton. Because whether you know it, that is not paper. That is made of cotton. That alone should piss you off. You don't want your ancestor represented like that. Abraham Lincoln and Abraham Lincoln hated black people, and they tell you he saved you. Benjamin, the Benjamin Franklin thing, he owned black people. Yeah. Grant, Ulysses S. Grant, ended what is called the Reconstruction period because he wanted to make peace with the people who owned the enslaved people. So you want to lump her in with those people. Oh, but it'll show that we have improvement. No, it don't. You know how you show you have improvement? By legally taking over the government. Putting people like me that look like me and you in positions of power so they can take some of that money that's been going to every other place and put it into your community so you can open up a corner store, so you can open up a grocery store, so you can open up a daycare center, so you can open up a learning center, so you can open up an art center, so you can open up a center so you can learn computer science, so you can open up a center that'll funnel people into the plumbers union, the electricians union, the brick masons union, the concrete layers, the construction people, so people who are not academically astute to a level of college, they can work with their hands until they educate themselves, because as you get older, most people start to read more, most of their lives slow down, and the rat race slows down, and then you can start the big picture. Like when you're 18, this is how you see. You see straight ahead. It's linear motion straight ahead. And as you get older, most people, their vision widens, and then you become more academically inclined, potentially. And when you become more academically inclined and you making that $120,000, $200,000 a year, and you working that construction job and your back is hurt, so all of a sudden you want to be academic and you want to go into one of those offices and sit down. Or you can elevate to the point where you open up your own construction company and you get money from that same state representative to open up your own construction company, and then you use the laws in your city, like in Chicago, so many minority people have to get a bid, and you have to have so many minority people on every construction site, and small business people, and you can get your sister, and if you're a fella, you can get your sister to open up the company there, and she's the sole owner. Now you and your sister are owners, and she getting the minority contracts, because guess what? Black people only get 9% of the minority contracts. Guess who get most of them? White women. That's why they push that thing. And white women too. When the white women been suffering, but that's not my fight. I don't give a damn. But this is why this whole Harriet Tubman on the money is another instance of how do you see yourself? Because if you see yourself, you do not want yourself as representative to trade in big goods that were, at the end of the day, you used to be money. It's a part of you that used to be money. And that wasn't a long time ago. Because if I'm 50, that means my mama would have been 73 had she lived, God rest her soul. You go back 73 years, and you look at my grandmother. My grandmother's grandmother was a slave. Was an enslaved person. So that's not a long time ago. Your mother could have potentially been touched by somebody who were born into enslaved. And you want to fall for this nonsense. Oh, that was a long time ago. It wasn't a long time ago. It was 158 years ago in May. It's people, the sister, the great ancestor, Cicely Tyson, died at 90. John Chaney, another ancestor that recently transitioned, they 89 years old, they would have been 90. Look at that. You talking to people who have probably been held by somebody who was an enslaved individual. And you talking about that was a long time ago. And then the brothers and the sisters is always want to tell me about, you talking about racism, bruh. It ain't like that anymore. Yeah? So why is CBS in the ring again? Because this gay black man came out and said he was discriminated against because he was gay and because he was black. And he says he's on TV telling everybody knows what's going on. But not all people, H-Rap. Everybody's not like that, brother. See, you have to broaden your horizons. You have to look at things differently, right? That's what people tell me all the time. See, it sounds like you angry, brother. You know what, brother? If you're not angry, it sounds like you're crazy. Seriously. If you're not angry at this situation, it sounds like you're crazy. Another reason you go into this Party of Lincoln thing is because you got Huckabee Sanders running for governor of Arkansas. You got another clown who was rolling with Donald Trump, Elizabeth Burton. She's running for governor. See, everybody's trying to distance themselves from the name Donald Trump. They want everything about Donald Trump to disappear. They want the last 4 years to disappear. But then again, they don't want it to disappear because those rednecks, the biggest that was rolling with them, they want those votes. This is why remember I said, this is why you can use the COINTELPRO thing to your advantage. If you become a neutral party, they have to come at you, and they don't know how to come at you, because if you're over there, I'm going to be a Democrat no matter what. And that means, again, that you haven't looked into history, because the Democratic Party was started by the racists that wanted to continue enslavement. And the Republican Party was the party that wanted to hold the country together for money. Don't ever believe that people didn't want you involved. That means you're not reading at all, son. That means you are not reading at all. If you believe that, you are outside your freaking mind. Nobody did. There were very few people that did not want to continue the practice of enslavement. So you can believe them books if you want. You can believe that rhetoric, because when you open the book, you'll see that that's not true. Period. But this Party of Lincoln thing allows people to approach you. See, that's how they see you. That's how they see you and how you see yourself. How you see yourself is a proud person who needs to get things done in this community. You need to get the teachers in your community paid better. And when they pay better, more people than not will do better. And when you do better, it benefits your kids. And when it benefits your kids, again, man, it benefits you. School versus education. School teaches you how to go get a job, do what you're supposed to do, and hopefully you retire. Education teaches you to always be looking for improvement. Always be like this whole thing, this whole mantra. I'm not going to complain because it's people worse than me. Now, these same people go to church. If you open that book and educate yourself, that's the school of thought. If you open that book and educate yourself, and you'll see that God says he wants you to live in abundance. But you sitting there talking about, the projects ain't that bad. You just can't be out at the dog. Nah. Educate yourself so you can enhance the lives of the people that you care about. This Party of Lincoln thing is an ingenious thing by Sister Karen Hunter because it forces people to look at you and approach you, and it forces you to be able to make demands. Because if you want my vote, you want me to do something for you, what you can do is this. You can say, oh, you need my vote? You want me to do something for you? Well, I'm going to need you to do this. And if you can't do that, then I can't do that. And that's it. See, complaining is the only way you're going to get things. Hell, even God himself tells you, you have to ask for things. You have to ask for things. If you ask, then you shall receive. But people, we got to the point where we don't even ask anymore. We just out here, man. Seriously? We must ask. And the only way you can ask, if you're in a position of power, you make people come to you. You sit down, you get your collective together. Are you a Democrat? No. Are you a Republican? Yep. No, I'm not that either. Or you can get rid of people like Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who's running for the governor of Arkansas. Check this out. You can primary her. And what primary in is this? Certain states are open election states. And what that means is this. You don't have to register as a Democrat or a Republican. You can just go vote. Sarah Huckabee Sanders shows up and says, she loses her cool when she's pressed. She's part of that Donald Trump organization. So what you do is you sit your behind there and you can potentially register as a Republican. And you find somebody who's reasonable versus her, who's nefarious, who's a live wire, who's out of control, right? And you go to the Republican meetings and you get all the Republican information, just like they used to do with us. They went into the Black Panther Party self-defense. They went to the Student Nonviolent Coalition. They went into the Southern Methodist organization with Dr. King and all those guys. They set somebody in there, got information, came back, and then decided how to break up all that. You do the same thing with the Republican Party. We know we don't want Sarah Huckabee Sanders. We know we don't want Buford. We know we don't want these other people. Tim Scott in South Carolina. We know we don't want them. So what you do is, when the primary comes along, it's 1.4 million registered voters in the state of Arkansas. That's a real number. What you do is find out, again, remember I was telling y'all about civics and how civics works? You find out that it was only 200,000 people that voted in the primary. So all the bros, we go to the primary and vote for the other dude that said Huckabee Sanders is out of here. There was a Republican brother did it in Mississippi eons ago. He literally used the black card. I need the black people to come vote for me because I'm black, and they did it. And he was down there doing good work under the guise of the Republican Party. See, when you see people like Condoleezza Rice, and you see these other black people who are Republicans, and in your mind you think, what are y'all Republicans for? Because they were raised Republicans, because their family understood that the party that freed the enslaved people were Republicans. So that's where the allegiance go. You don't go because that means, if you don't understand it, that means you don't understand the concept of a Dixiecrat. When you've seen all these white men from 56 to 1980 with Ronald Reagan saying, hey, I can't get no traction over here in this Democratic Party, so I'm going to go ahead with the Republican Party and kick this racism back off. That's all that happened. Bloomberg, he was an independent. He was an independent. He was trying to run as a Democrat, couldn't get anywhere. He jumped on the Republican ticket. Bam. You look at Donald Trump, he was a known Democrat. He jumped on the Republican ticket and became president. He really an autocrat. An autocrat is a person without a party. He's just doing him. And that's what we need to be at. But we keep drawing allegiance. Oh man, these people are never going to do anything for you, and you arguing and fussing and fighting. You just need to get together and do things for yourself. For yourself. The most important thing I'm going to talk about today, well, this is the least important, and I'm about to close it out. And I want you to continue to listen because I have some more information. I have a little tidbit at the end of the show for you. This is extremely important. Another example of doing things for yourself and stop waiting on people to do things for you. It's in the sports world. There were 6 positions, I think 5 or 6 positions open in the NFL this year, or less, whatever. There were quite a few positions in the National Football League. And everybody's up in arms about two things. One, Deshaun Watson leaving Houston, Texas. Why am I talking about this? Because just follow me. Walk with me. I'm talking about this because Deshaun Watson is exercising his power. When a big-time quarterback from who's a friend of the white face of media, or is a white guy, he's included in the loop on everything. Deshaun Watson is equally as talented. He's accomplishing the same type of things they are. They lied to him. And when you lie in business, you are a liar, or you're known as a liar, so I don't want to deal with you anymore. Deshaun Watson is exercising his power, and he's going to do everything he can to get out of Houston. The reason I bring that up is because there have been several positions open. And for the last 5 years that I've been doing shows like this, I've been hearing people go longer than that, but why ain't they hiring more brothers? We're going to create a rule, and then you get the people. You can't tell a billionaire what to do. Yes, you can. We tell billionaires what to do all the time. Start a hashtag, we ain't shopping here no more. It'll be a billionaire, reach out to somebody in our community, and then start pandering. They start offering solutions. You know, like when this George Floyd thing popped off, and everybody and their mother's uncle started saying, hey, we'll so cash out. Shot people money. We don't know where the money went, but that's neither here nor there. We're going to put this much money up for the black community. Chase. This much money up for the black community. Chevy. Nike. Adidas. Everybody started throwing money at you. So we do tell millionaires what to do. Stop buying them damn jerseys. Stop watching them damn TV. Start watching that TV and start checking out the internet. All of a sudden, the damn sidelines, they might paint the sideline black instead of white. But this is another situation to whereas it's not about how they see you, it's about how you see you. If you were in pursuit of a person for romantic reasons and they told you, hell no, get out of my face, or they continue to skip over you, you wouldn't ask them anymore. You would walk away. And that's what's happening with these NFL, NBA, and Major League Baseball people who want to be managed as a team. Do you want to be, I could ask the question, do you want to be a manager? Or do you want to be a manager and get approval from the white face and media and these white people who own these teams? The reason I ask that is this. The show looks like us. Ain't nobody going to see Kirk Heinrich. Nobody's going to see Luka Doncic. He's not the face of the league. The face of the league is LeBron James. The face of the league is Giannis Antetokounmpo. The face of the league is Joel Embiid. The face of the league is Russell Westbrook. The league is made up of 75-80% of the people, and we don't have any representation via leadership, right? Not a problem. Deion Sanders showed you what to do. I've been saying that for 5 years, and I'll continue to say it. Excuse me. I'll continue to say it. Deion Sanders has the highest rated college recruit class in the history of HBCUs. I'm going to say that again. He has the highest rated recruiting class in the history of HBCUs. He got Cadillac sponsorship. I think he got Nike sponsorship or Jordan Brand sponsorship. You know Jackson State going to be on TV this year. If not, they're at least going to be on ESPN this year. You got guys in the transfer portal fighting to get to Mississippi. Deion Sanders is a perfect example of, y'all don't want to hire me in the NFL as a coach? Y'all don't want to hire me at Florida State? Well, let me go to one of the richer HBCUs. Take my fame down here. I used to coach one of the most successful youth football programs in the United States of America. I used to play against my friend Luther Campbell. I used to play against my friend Snoop Dogg. And they got 15, 20 people in the pros already. So what we're going to do, we're going to use those guys and their fame to funnel these young brothers to my university. And when we funnel those people to my university, we are going to win. And when we win, we're going to bring money to Jackson, Mississippi. When we bring money to Jackson, Mississippi, next thing you know, we'll be playing in one of those big-time stadiums, and we'll have the capacity to hold 65,000 people, and we'll be a Division 1A school. And when we become a Division 1A school, we'll have better facilities. And when we have better facilities, all the brothers are going to be running down in Mississippi. So, Mike Singletary, Les Frazier, Jim Caldwell, and all those Joy Porter and all those brothers who want jobs, take your ass down to an HBCU, over to FAMU, who got a stadium that has the capacity to be a Division 1A school, just like the University of Connecticut did about 10 years ago. They built a big enough stadium. FAMU has a big enough stadium. You take your popularity, think about it like this. You got a 16, 17, 18, you got a 15, 16, 17-year-old son, and Joy Porter, Mike Singletary, or one of these people, Mark Jackson in basketball, Corliss Williamson in basketball. They walk in your room. You watch that dude play college basketball. Now, college basketball or pro football or pro basketball. Now he's walking in your house saying, my man, send him to me, and you know they're going to come check me out, and I'm going to play prime. I'm going to play Deion Sanders' team, and we're going to take Deion Sanders' team out. And you know what's going to happen when we take Deion out? The camera's going to come. And when the cameras come, your boy on TV. And guess what? It's scouts that's cool with Joy Porter. That's cool with Mark Jackson. That's cool with Deion Sanders. And Deion is going to say, yo, come down here because I got this guy, he's killing. And I got this guy in FAMU who's killing. And I got this guy at Grambling killing. And then you know what else they can do? They can go to Shaq. They can go to not Penny Hardaway. They can go to Shaq. They can go to Kenny. They can go to Child. They can go to Michael Jordan. They can go to all those guys and say, hey, I'm going to need you to shoot me some of that bread down here, man. I need Jordan Brand to be the sponsor of this school. And then Jordan send them Jordans down there. And then LeBron, we're going to need a couple of those dollars. And Steph Curry and Kyrie Irving. Yeah, you want to help us out. Don't send no more money to Duke and Kansas and Kentucky. Start shooting that money to these HBCUs. And guess what's going to happen then? NBC going to want a college football contract. That's what's going to happen. WGN going to want a college football contract. That's what's going to happen. TNT going to want to put college football on TV. And that because then they got the whole performance. They got the band. They got the brothers and sisters boogieing in the stands. And it's a thing. And that's how you fix it. So instead of sitting around complaining, Deion Sanders showed you the answer. Again, it's not how you see, it's not how they see you, it's how you see you. If you see you as important and valuable, you follow the blueprint of Deion Sanders and stop begging for crumbs and you bake your own damn cake. Period. Point blank, period. I want to shoot through this chat room on the Spreaker side of the game. I want to thank Ali, Miss Jackson, Joe, number one Chief Rocket Jersey Vern, Lady J, and D Greatest, my man Big Illinois. I want to thank my man DJ Mad Knox. I want to thank Phyllis, DJ Ramel, MCDE. Thank you for joining me. I got my sister Black Swan. I think I said the number one Chief Rocket Jersey Vern. I got my man from Canada, J Ron. Thank you, Moni. And my main man Mookadeen, DJ Mookadeen. And on the YouTube side, I want to thank my man Ben for being Street Tuning in Monday evening. We're gonna be talking about 40 Years of Prisoner, awesome documentary. I want to thank my man Steve Lott, Jonathan Davis. Thanks, John. That's my man. I think I'm gonna thank my sister Lauren. Thank you, Lauren. I said her real name, but maybe I should have said Happiness and Joy. I'm sorry. It says your name. I'm gonna thank my man Big Country. And if I miss your name, man, I'm still my girl Gigi's line. If I miss your name, charge to my name, don't charge to my heart. Again, man, continue to support Built for This Network. Continue to support me every Saturday at 5 p.m., every Tuesday at 5 p.m. with my partners, Joe from Houston, and my man Big Illinois. Tomorrow, Ray the Kev. Tomorrow evening, my man D Gray. Monday morning, number one Chief Rocker Jersey Fire. Monday afternoon, Tuesday afternoon, or Tuesday early, I got my man Microwave. Then my man DJ Mad Knox. Me, Joe, and Big Illinois, aka Johnny Ringo, in the evening. And then Tuesday night, just checking out the people at MCDE, my sister Red Beauty, everybody at MCDE, my man Chuck. I want to shout out to my man Big P. He just hit me. He listening. He got his ears on. He's part of the background listeners. If you chose not to create a profile and come in, I want to shout out to my Uncle Richard, man. Y'all hear me talk about my Uncle Richard all the time. That's my guy, man. He took care of me. If you like anything I'm saying, you thank my mother's brother, you thank my mother's sister, and my dad's brothers and sisters. If you like anything I'm saying, it's because of them. My Aunt Phyllis, people like that. They made me a better person. If you're in the background, you chose not to create a profile and just listen, thank you as well. You are much appreciated. If you can, go to the YouTube and to Spreaker, hit the like button, tell a friend to tune in. You could have gave us a call. You chose not to. It's on the bottom. Check us 773-797-2409. You ain't feel like it. That's good too, man. It's all good. Let me continue. Deacon Dale on Wednesday. Thursday, my man Chief Rock will be back on. Thursday evening, you got DJ Mad Knox, James Earl, and my man Chiz Roundtree. Theory of the Culture. You got DJ Mad Knox. I'm sorry. One of my close friends, Kirby, he's in the chat room. He's one of the first people to come in. I ain't forget about you, Kirby. I just was looking at the names, brother. My bad. DJ Mad Knox, Big Illinois. And in about an hour, Big Illinois had his hip hop show. It's pretty good, but he don't have no Bronx rappers, so I don't listen no more. I'm boycotting the show until he gets some rappers that I like on there. I'm just kidding. But man, thank you for tuning in. And then 166 hours from now, 165 and a half hours from now, you have my man, I'll be back on in about an hour. You got my man Big Illinois. He killing the game. I'm ending the show as far as me talking, but I got some good information coming up, man. If you use the Spreaker link, and you can hear this information I'm about to share. Oh yeah, my man Walter Nancy, he a background listener. Thank you, Walt. Dude, I've been knowing since 1984. Class of 88 Westheims. I got the shirt on. I'm representing, man. Representing. You see it. But continue to tune in, man. Continue to support the movement. It's your man H-Rap B, built for this network. I'm going to turn this up. I'm going to check out, and as I do every week, I close it out with my man Combat Jack. It's his mantra, rest in peace. He's an ancestor now. And it goes, dream those dreams and man up a woman up and live those dreams. Because life without dreams flows in black and white. Life with dreams flows in technicolor surround sound. My mantra is 2 fingers, 1 word. My name is H-Rap B. And you already know I am out.
Former NBA player and wellness advocate Jarnell Stokes is the owner of Stokes Superfoods. Stokes Superfoods brings the purest form and highest quality products to those who want to turn the tables and take responsibility for their health. Educate people on the power of returning to nature and the holistic inner self. Our products cannot heal any disease alone, but we're here to assist in the healing process for both the mind and body. Stokes Superfoods are highly recommended. For more information, please click on the link in my description box below.
Today, there's a new epidemic. Smokable cocaine, otherwise known as crack. It is an explosively destructive and often lethal substance which is crushing its users. It is an uncontrolled fire. As we mobilize for this national crusade, I'm mindful that drugs are a constant temptation for millions. Please remember this when your courage is tested. You are Americans. You're the product of the freest society mankind has ever known. No one ever has the right to destroy your dreams and shatter your life.
In September of '86, with the media frenzy at full throttle, the House passed legislation that allocated $2 billion to the anti-drug crusade. $2 billion. They required the participation of the military in narcotics control efforts to allow the death penalty for some drug-related crimes and authorize admissions of illegally obtained evidence in drug raids. Later that month, the Senate proposed an even tougher anti-drug legislation, and shortly thereafter, the President signed the Anti-Drug Abuse Act of '86.
The mammoth omnibus drug bill passed both houses of Congress with an overwhelming majority. Federal sentences for marijuana, heroin, and cocaine were unprecedented in their severity. Federal parole in most drug cases was eliminated. What began as alarm over the crack epidemic had mushroomed into a program requiring the incarceration of tens of thousands. Among the sweeping changes proposed was a new law mandating minimum sentences for federal drug convictions, eliminating a judge's discretion in pronouncing sentence.
Members in our subcommittee, the crime subcommittee, said, look, we want mandatory minimums. We want higher level penalties. And at the end of really this 3 or 4 week little period, suddenly this was literally on the table without a hearing, without any really preparation.
There was not a lot of study. There was a call for action in Congress. There was talk about the way the normal legislative process runs. They do full-scale hearings, and they bring experts in, and they do an awful lot of investigation. Well, that didn't happen with crack cocaine in particular.
In record time, Congress rewrote virtually all the nation's drug laws. A get-tough crackdown unparalleled in drug war history. Measures included, from the Crime Subcommittee, the death penalty for major traffickers, life in prison for some repeat offenders, more severe federal penalties for simple possession. From the Armed Services Committee, for the first time, direct involvement of the U.S. military in interdiction. From the Committee on Merchant Marine and Fisheries, stiff penalties for drugs found on any American boat. From the Judiciary Committee, federal penalties for money laundering and a new asset forfeiture law that allowed federal police agencies to keep the property they seized. From the Agriculture Committee, the arming of forest rangers.
The new Anti-Drug Abuse Act authorized public housing authorities to evict any tenant who allows any form of drug-related criminal activities on or near public housing premises. This act also affected student loans and expanded the death penalty. Also included a 5-year mandatory minimum for simple possession of cocaine base with no evidence. They didn't have to have evidence to book you. Drug offenders face lifetime consequences for minor infractions. Yet the focus on tough sentences for crack and not powder cocaine meant that the people who were going to jail were black. The media seemed to play along, hyping up threats with racist coverage that largely ignored rampant cocaine use among whites. And it sensationalized the crack problem in inner city black communities.
The drug war became a national obsession.
There's an epidemic of the cocaine called crack. It is epidemic and it can kill.
The crack problem has become a crack crisis and it's spreading nationwide.
This is Clements Avenue in Charleston, South Carolina.
Here in Bakersfield, city parks like this one have become favorite hangouts for drug dealers.
It's around Philadelphia's 8th and...
A few years after the war on drugs was declared, crack began to spread rapidly in poor communities of Los Angeles, and then later emerged in cities across the country. The Reagan administration hired staff to publicize the emergence of crack cocaine in 1985. This right here was part of a strategic effort to build public and legislative support for the war. During the crack era, a study of urban black fathers found that 28% actually had access to an automobile. That rate fell to 18% of those living in the ghetto. And with all these fathers being locked up, they was arresting all these brothers. This destroyed the black family. Kids growing up without a father are 5 times more likely to be poor, twice as likely to drop out of school or end up in foster care or juvenile justice facilities. A man by the name of Gary Webb has exposed what really happened and why it happened during the crack era.
Men who were working for the CIA's army were responsible for bringing all that cocaine into Los Angeles that sparked the crack epidemic.
The CIA's army, Webb says, were the Contras, the anti-communist rebels fighting the government of Nicaragua back in the 1980s, an army founded and funded by the CIA. Webb wrote that some Contra supporters smuggled cocaine to America to raise money for their cause.
The CIA has been bringing drugs into this country.
As then
Gary
CIA
Webb
Director
reported, in addition to waging a proxy war for the U.S. government against Nicaragua's revolutionary government in the 1980s, elements of the CIA backed Contra rebels who were involved in trafficking cocaine into the U.S. This was in order to fund their counter-revolutionary campaign. The secret flow of drugs and money, Webb reported, had a direct link to the subsequent explosion of crack cocaine, the abuse that devastated California's most vulnerable black neighborhoods. The transformation from community policing to military policing began in 1981. This was when President Reagan persuaded Congress to pass the Military Cooperation with Law Enforcement Act. This act encouraged the military to give local, state, and federal police access to military bases. Also, intelligence, weaponry, equipment, all for drug interdiction. Fast forward today, during this opioid crisis, Congress put out a statement saying that they want to focus more on the treatment instead of their incarceration. There's over 50,000 deaths per year, with the vast majority of those deaths being white people. They want to call this an epidemic or a crisis. And now there is no more war on drugs. And Congress spent millions of dollars on treatment facilities. But during the crack era, they locked everybody up and they left us for dead. You have brothers who are still locked up to this day from the 80s crack era. Right now, still locked up. During the crack era, they came down hard on black folks, while white powder cocaine users got slaps on the wrist. Thousands and thousands and thousands of brothers were locked up, while white people from the suburbs got a pass.
If you ask the question, why are some drugs legal and others illegal? Why are cigarettes and alcohol legal and pharmaceuticals in the middle and these other drugs, marijuana, other ones illegal? Some people sort of inherently assume, well, this must be because there was a thoughtful consideration of the relative risks of drugs. And, but then you think, well, that can't be because we know alcohol is more associated with violence than almost any illegal drugs. And cigarettes are more addictive than any of the illegal drugs. I mean, heroin addicts routinely say it's harder to quit cigarettes than it is to quit heroin. So it's not as if there was ever any kind of National Academy of Science that 100 years ago decided that these drugs, these ones had to be illegal and those ones legal. And it's not as if this is in the Bible or in the Code of Hammurabi. I mean, nobody was making legal distinctions among many of these drugs back until the 20th century, essentially. So if you ask how and why this distinction got made, what you realize when you look at the history is it has almost nothing to do with the relative risks of these drugs and almost everything to do with who used and who was perceived to use these drugs, right? So there was, back in the 1870s, when the majority of opiate consumers were middle-aged white women, throughout the country, using them for their aches and pains and for their, when the time of the month and menopause, and there was no aspirin, there was no penicillin, lots of diarrhea because of bad sanitation, and nothing stops you up like opiates. I mean, millions, many more, a much higher percentage of the population back then used opiates than now, but nobody thought about criminalizing it because nobody wanted to put, auntie or grandma behind bars, right? But then when the Chinese start coming to the country in large numbers in the 1870s and 80s and, working on the railroads and working in the mines and working in factories and and then going back home at the end of the night to smoke up a little opium the way they did in the old country, the same way white people were having a couple of whiskeys in the evening. And that's when you got the first opium prohibition laws in Nevada, in California, in the 1870s and 80s, directed at the Chinese minorities. It was all about the fear, what would those Chinamen with their opium do to our precious women, addicting them and seducing them and turning them into sex slaves and all this sort of stuff. The first anti-cocaine laws were in the South in the early part of the 20th century, directed at black men working on the docks, and the fear, what would happen to those black men when they took that white powder up their black noses and forgot their proper place in society, going out. First time anybody ever said that, cops needed a 38 would not bring down a Negro crazed on cocaine. You needed a 45. I mean, the New York Times, the paper of record reporting this stuff as fact back in those days. That's when you got the first cocaine prohibition laws. The first marijuana prohibition laws were in the Midwest and the Southwest, directed at Mexican migrants, Mexican Americans, taking the good jobs from the good white people, going back home to their communities, smoking a little of that funny smoking, marijuana, reefer, cigarette. And once again, the fear, what would this minority do to our precious women and children? So, it's always been about that.
Please follow the History with No Chaser Facebook page and Instagram page. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. And let me know what you think in the comment section.
We are built for this network, for the strong, not the weak.